Armenia has persistently implemented reforms since gaining independence in 1991. Economic growth was in the single digits between 1994 and the late 1990s. From 2001 to 2007, however, the economy recorded double-digit growth, averaging 12% per annum. This led to higher household incomes, from less than $500 per capita per annum in 1999 to more than $3,700 in 2008. As a result, the poverty level gradually declined from 56% in 1999 to 27.6% in 2008. The global economic crisis revealed the vulnerability of Armenia's economy, reversing some of the hard-earned achievements. The nation's economy contracted sharply, declining by 14.1% in 2009. Poverty rose, affecting cumulatively 35.8% of the population in 2009 to 2010. Reduced fiscal revenues widened the fiscal deficit from less than 2% of GDP in 2007 to 7.5% in 2009. The current account deficit, too, deteriorated from less than 7% of GDP to about 16% in the same period, 2007 to 2009. Jobs were being cut, and social tension was growing. To withstand these challenges, the government was compelled to seek external financing, which tripled the country's external public debt in 2010 relative to the pre-crisis level. The Development Policy Operation, DPO project, supported the Armenian government in resisting the crisis, on the one hand, and in implementing reforms to lay the foundations for economic recovery and further growth, on the other.
The primary objective was to maintain the social protection programs and the spendings thereon. In other words, this spending must remain a priority for the government and continue to be financed with an essential focus on the socially vulnerable groups.
Armenia's state budget expenditures on social needs amounted to 26% in 2008. During the economic crisis, these fiscal lines increased, reaching about 28% in 2011. According to estimates of experts, the poverty level would have been much higher, around 54.2%, had the Armenian government cut the targeted social spending in the scarce state budget. The Martyrossians are a large family of 11, sharing 4 rooms. The men in the family, brothers Levon and Komitas, have no permanent employment. The kids attend school, and the women spend their time raising the kids. The 2 sisters and the retired mother live with them under the same roof. The family's regular monthly income consists of $115 of the poverty family benefit and the mother's old age pension of $160. The pension is mostly used to buy medication, while the family allowance is barely enough to pay the electricity, gas, water, and other utility bills in the winter months.
Unless we pay the bills, we will have no gas or power supply, and it would be very hard for us to keep the kids warm and to bathe them. The allowance never runs late. If it does, our family will face a catastrophe. We lived the worst years when there was no power. It would be bad, dark, and cold.
Armenia's social protection system is undergoing reforms. People who need state support often had to take numerous documents to the social service agencies in the past and wait for a long time to have information checked about them. Presently, the information systems in the sphere have been improved and streamlined. Information is accessible from one center. Checking information with the State Population Register of the Police Department or the Civil Acts Registration Department is now a matter of seconds.
The information systems have become centralized, and we serve about 200 organizations in the field of social protection. Previously, these organizations used flash drives to exchange information in the best case. Now they use the intranet.
Baitsar Davityan, visited the Arab Kir district branch of social services to present the documents needed to get the family allowance. The process takes no more than 15 minutes.
In the past, we would have to make several visits. Now the problem is solved right on the spot. It has become easier.
Vartui Harutyunyan has worked in the Arab Kir district branch of social services for 14 years. 2 years ago, she would have asked Mrs. Baitzar to revisit in order to bring along additional documents. Now, the electronic system has made Vartui's job easier. She only asks the visitors to fill out the family allowance application form.
The job has become easier both for us and the population because we no longer have to send the residents away several times to bring additional documents, as we managed to obtain the required documents ourselves electronically.
During the economic crisis, Armenia revised the Poverty Family Benefit Program. The Social Security Services tried to identify new families in need of support, whilst removing ineligible ones from the system. The number of poverty family benefit recipients has grown by 250 in just 1 year in the Arab Kir district branch of social services.
We identified new families facing urgent problems affecting their livelihood, families in dire conditions.
As a result of improving the administration of the Poverty Family Benefit Program, targeting of poor households improved in Armenia from 67% in 2008 to 76% in 2010. Armenia has recently solved another problem related also to the education sector. Financing of preschool education was introduced under the DPO for the purpose of preparing 4.5 to 5.5-year-old children for school during a year. There was no preschool education, especially in many rural communities. Children under the age of 6 used to enter elementary school without having attended a kindergarten. The village of Marmashen in the north of Armenia was one of these communities. The kindergarten building had been destroyed by the 1988 earthquake. With financial support, the Marmashen school opened up a preschool class.
The children would start their first year in school without any preparation, and the class teacher would have to spend 3 to 4 months to bring the children together, to teach them how to sit in a classroom and how to respect what they were told.
28 children attend the preschool. They are here from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. They enjoy the classes, play, learn to appreciate friendships, and become more organized. In the meantime, the parents can work or have more spare time to work around the house.
My kid goes there for 2 years now. It is very productive. We get to have free time around the house, and the kid comes home with homework done. Our child now knows the letters.
By 2015, the preschool is planned to cover about 90% of the children. In 2011, the co-payment scheme was introduced in the health system with the purpose to align the hospital service prices with the market prices and improve the transparency of the financial flows. Price lists are now posted in visible places in all hospitals.
The fees paid by the citizens for treatment and the real prices of paid health care services became transparent.
The salaries of the medical personnel have been increased due to the revenue derived by the introduction of the co-payment system. In Arab Kir Medical Center, wages have grown 1.5 times on average. The hospital now pays twice as much in personal income tax, while mandatory social contributions have grown by 68%. The reform process is currently focused on the state budget to make necessary allocations for the co-payments of the needy people in the future. Improving Armenia's business environment is the second focus of the Development Policy Operation, DPO, project. It was necessary to undertake measures to stop the economic contraction and to boost economic activity, and to get on the path of recovery and growth. The government used the crisis years as an opportunity to accelerate the pace of the reforms. The 2012 Doing Business report recognized Armenia as one of the 12 countries implementing the most reforms. Armenia rose 6 places in the global ranking of the report and now ranks 55th from 61st in 2011 among 183 economies. Specifically, the country reformed in the following areas of business regulation: starting a business, dealing with construction permits, getting credit information, paying taxes, and resolving insolvency.
We agreed to target the sectors where efforts are needed, and much needs to be done without delay. We took the homework, sat down, and worked with the World Bank experts on the so-called quick fix areas.
One of the steps aimed at creating a more favorable business environment is the creation of a simple and quick online system for registering new enterprises. The one-stop shop was created for the startups. Previously, a citizen wanting to register, rename, or reorganize an enterprise had to visit the State Revenue Committee, the licensing department, and other government institutions. He or she needed to visit a bank to make the required payments. Today, citizens visit the One-Stop Shop Service Center to register a business.
A citizen who comes to the service center first gets in line by receiving a ticket showing the window that should be approached. The payments can be made next door. The citizen then approaches the designated window, presents the documents, and obtains a sole entrepreneur certificate in a matter of just 15 to 20 minutes. The registration of a legal entity may take up to 30 minutes.
Alexander Alexanian, founder of the Creamix Limited Liability Company, spent about 20 minutes at the center. He got his enterprise certificate on the spot.
When I worked somewhere else, I knew it was always a problem to rename the company or to change the director. Everything will be much better now that this system has been put in place.
All of the required documents can even be filled out online by visiting www.eregister.am and then visiting the one-stop shop only to sign the documents on the spot. According to the electronic register of the Ministry of Justice, 9,481 private entrepreneurs and 2,491 LLCs were registered in Armenia within a year of introducing the one-stop shop principle. An improved business environment makes doing business easier and less risky. There are over 20 inspection agencies in Armenia. Inspecting an enterprise may take as long as 1 month. If each enterprise is visited by 5 inspecting agencies within a year, the enterprise will essentially have to spend all of its time dealing with the government. The law on inspections was amended in Armenia to address this problem. Karine Minasyan, Deputy Minister of Economy, refers to these changes as a mini-revolution.
We used to have another faulty practice, when a tax inspector could make a deal with the business owner, helping the latter to avoid observing the legal norms and getting a thank you gift or bribe from the business person for being kind and forgiving. The business owner would not observe the norms and fulfill its obligations towards the state, while the inspector would fail to perform his supervisory duties. This involved both objective and subjective issues.
The following main amendments were made to the law on inspections. Only the businesses identified as risky may be inspected. The business risk criteria are approved by the government decree and published. The list of risky businesses to be inspected is published. The list of businesses inspected during the previous year is also to be published, so that the public can monitor whether or not the published list is complied with. The rules prescribing sanctions for non-compliant business practices are published. Inspections are carried out using a special checklist containing exhaustive and simple questions that the business must answer. And the checklists are published too.
This is a major move against corruption, one that benefits the businesses by protecting their rights.
The introduction of the electronic filing of tax and customs declaration was another important step aimed at facilitating doing business. Taxpayers are now able to submit their tax reports electronically.
Needless to say, the time, cost, and red tape of dealing with the State Revenue Committee have been considerably reduced.
According to the results of the Cost of Tax Compliance in Armenia survey by the International Finance Corporation, IFC, in 2009, SMEs spend an average 17.5% of their turnover on tax compliance. The figure is 2.6% in Europe, 0.1% in Canada, 0.02% in the Netherlands, and 8.2% in Ukraine. The introduction of the electronic tax reporting system is anticipated to considerably improve Armenia's performance in this area. For 2 years now, the Center for Agribusiness and Rural Development Foundation, CARD, has been benefiting from the electronic reporting system.
In the past, we had to fill out the reports and take them to the tax inspectorate, where we might have to wait in a line for as long as an hour just to hand in the report. Now we can send the reports any time of the day, morning or night.
An electronic invoicing system, too, has been launched at the State Revenue Committee, which allows any two business entities to work with each other without any interference by the tax authorities.
While not participating directly in the business transactions, the State Revenue Committee manages to have comprehensive information for purposes of cross-inspections of tax compliance.
About 10,000 companies are already filing electronic tax reports in Armenia. An electronic payment system under customs declarations has been introduced at the other wing of the State Revenue Committee, the Customs Agency. If the system selects the green channel for a declaration, then the business entity no longer needs to visit the customs house and undergo additional document checks.
A declarant files an electronic declaration form from his office through our system, sends it to the customs authorities, and if the green channel is selected, then he indicates the bank of his choice and can pay online, after which the message is transferred from our system to the banking system, and the client gets the payment electronically in his office through a bank-to-client electronic system, after which he can go to the customs warehouse directly, without having to go to the customs house, and discharge his goods.
As of 2011, the share of customs transactions cleared through the green channel under the new procedure accounted for 15% of all customs clearance operations. The Yerevan Brandy Company deals with customs authorities on a daily basis. The company's staff manages to complete all of the required customs papers without leaving their office.
We make fewer visits to the customs house. Dealings with the customs house have been modernized. We used to go there to file a declaration. The inspector would perform the customs formalities. Now we can declare ourselves from where we are. Everything has become easier.
The essential role of the mining sector for Armenia's economy has been emphasized under the DPO project. Non-precious metals and mining products account for about 50% of Armenia's exports. The new mining code was adopted in December 2011. It improved the mining sector taxation framework and made it more attractive for investors.
It was important to introduce the new rules of the game, including rules on the tax framework, licenses, and environmental protection. These rules of the game had to be universal and consistent with the international standards. International standards imply a number of key concepts, such as transparency, clear knowledge of mine users of their rights and obligations, and their ability to deliver adequate results in connection with the use of mineral resources, including the payment of taxes.
Under the Development Policy Operation Project, Armenia undertook measures aimed at facilitating the country's sustained development and economic growth. After the decline in 2009, the Armenian economy has been rising slowly but steadily. Fiscal consolidation helped to maintain the 2011 fiscal deficit under 3% of the GDP and reduce the current account deficit, a balance of payments, to about 12% of the GDP in 2011. The GDP grew by 2.1% in 2010 and 4.6% in 2011, and the medium-term outlook is around 4.0 to 5.0%. However, these are modest indicators in light of the present challenges. New approaches to economic policy and a faster pace of reforms are needed to address the socio-economic problems that the country is still facing, such as high levels of poverty and unemployment, the small share of labor income in total household income, as well as inadequate levels of economic competition and diversification of the economy and exports, with exports concentrated on just a handful of commodity groups. A new development policy operation should be built upon a set of economic policies supporting a balanced effort to overcome these challenges.